Reason number one that your plants aren't growing has to do with depleted soil. When you buy a potting mix from a store or online, it usually has nutrients in it that are essential for your plant's well-being. Well, over time, as we water the plant, those nutrients get washed out of the soil. And when the soil has no more nutrients for your plant to absorb, you're going to see stunted growth and a loss of leaves. The second reason why your plants aren't growing has to do with the pot size. In nature, plant roots can grow on forever and ever in any direction. They're never really bound by anything because there's no container. But when we put a plant inside of a pot inside of our house, we're limiting the root's ability to expand infinitely. And when we do that, we're also limiting the plant growth. Now, if you put your plant in a bigger pot, that's going to allow the roots more room to grow, and it's going to allow your plant to grow more above the ground. The third reason why your plants aren't growing has to do with the type of potting mix you're using. Some plants, such as epiphytes, they're not used to being in soil that compacts and limits the root's ability to breathe. So if you put a plant like a fern or an orchid into a compacting potting mix, it's not going to have a good time because it's not closely replicating its natural environment. The fourth reason for your plant's stunted growth is because of pests. Now, if you have something like spider mites, you're actually going to notice that your plant is not growing well. The reason why is because spider mites pierce your plant cell walls and they suck nutrients directly out of it. Now, when your plant's getting nutrients sucked out of it that it should be using to grow, it's going to have stunted growth. So check on your plants frequently. If you start to see any webbing or any weird unidentified little beings on your plant, you definitely want to isolate that plant and try to do what you can to get rid of the problem. And after you do get rid of an infestation, you might want to consider even fertilizing your plants to replenish some of those nutrients that were sucked out of it. The fifth reason for your plants not growing has to do with inadequate light. Light is probably the most important thing for your plant. They use it to make food. Now, if there's not enough light for your plant to make enough food, it's not going to continue to grow. Plants are very efficient. They only grow more leaves if they can sustain it with the resources that are available. That's why when a plant's thriving, it's because you're giving it enough nutrients, enough light, enough water, and it's going to grow like crazy. Now, the opposite is true as well. If the plant's not getting enough light, not getting enough water, it's not going to grow because it can't sustain those extra leaves and all that energy it's going to take in order to produce food for extra leaves. So give your plant better lighting and you're going to see better results. The sixth reason why your plants aren't growing has to do with humidity. If there's a lack of humidity, your plants are not able to photosynthesize as well. Now, without getting too scientific, I'm going to try to explain this. Your plant has little pores basically on the leaves, and they allow for the exchange of gases. Your plant absorbs carbon dioxide through this process, and carbon dioxide is used to help your plant make food. When your plant is not getting enough humidity, those little pores start to close, and it limits the plant's ability to intake that carbon dioxide it needs, and in turn, it limits your plant's ability to produce food. Reason number 7 that your plants aren't growing has to do with inadequate drainage. Plant roots can suffocate or drown. Now, in nature, this normally isn't an issue because there's nothing containing that water. Well, in our house, when we water a plant and there's nowhere for the excess water to escape to, the roots start to drown and suffocate. So when this happens, your plant's actually going to lose leaves rather than growing new ones. So if you notice that your plant's not doing well and it doesn't have good drainage, consider repotting it into something that has better drainage, and you may just see a big difference. Reason number 8 that your plants aren't growing has to do with dormancy. Not all plants go dormant, but the ones that do are just attempting to conserve their energy until the growing conditions are right again. In nature, some environments are too cold for the plant to survive during the winter months. So if it's producing new leaves and those leaves are constantly dying off, it's kind of a waste of energy for the plant. So before you throw your plants away, it might be a good idea to check and see if it actually goes dormant. The 9th reason why your plants aren't growing well has to do with temperature. Most plants are used to a certain temperature range in their natural environment, and when you go outside of that, the plant is not going to be able to adjust as easily. Let's take an example of a plant from Hawaii that's used to these warm tropical environments, and it stays around that same temperature all year long. Well, if you take that plant and you put it into an environment that's about 10 degrees colder than that, the plant may have a hard time adjusting. Now, there are a couple of things you can do to increase the temperature of the plant without actually increasing the temperature of your entire home. One of those things you can use is a heating mat. The heating mat is something that you plug into the wall, it produces heat, and you put your plant on top of it. Now, it heats the plant's root system, which in turn keeps the entire plant at a certain temperature. Another thing you can do is put your plant near a grow light that produces some kind of heat. This again is going to increase the warmth of the area without increasing the temperature in your entire home. The last thing you can do is consider giving your plants some potassium. Now, potassium is an essential nutrient that plants need, and it has several benefits. But one of the most important benefits is that it actually increases the plant's ability to adjust to temperature fluctuations. The last reason why your plants aren't growing has to do with inconsistent watering. Inconsistent watering can have long-lasting effects on your plants. It actually can stunt plant growth indefinitely. So if your plant roots are not healthy, they are not able to absorb water and they're not able to absorb nutrients from the soil. So inconsistent watering can actually cause long-lasting damage to the roots, and you might have to basically chop away a lot of roots or just start the process over by re-rooting it in order to get that plant to thrive. The fourth reason why your plants... Now, everybody's seen a plant like this that is extremely root bound. Now, root bound plants are not a good thing. It's not used to those temperatures being that low, and we're not replicating its natural environment. Reason number 6 that your plants aren't growing. The sixth reason, so in Hawaii, the temperatures usually range from maybe mid to low 70s up to mid 90s. Now that's about a 20-degree temperature range, but outside of that range, the plants might not do too well. They're not used to it. So inside your home, if you keep your AC on a 68, you've probably seen them, they're like mosses or ferns. Now these plants actually get their nutrients from the air and